first?
Yes. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Danielle Davis, and I'm with RAC. I work with our collections team taking care of the public art collection. I am the registrar, so I keep track of everything. I help buy things. I help with info sessions like this. There's a lot. I don't know if you'll find it interesting. Anyway.
You do a lot. It's true.
Probably. So for this webinar, I'll just say, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A section. I think there should be a button on the bottom of your screen that says Q&A. So if you have questions, write them in there and I'll try and answer as we go. If I can't get to it, then we will, I believe, be able to address questions at the end. So try not to use the chat as much because I will be looking at the Q&A primarily. Yeah. Salvador, what do you got?
Thank you, Danielle. Hello, everyone. Thanks again for being here. My name is Salvador Mayoral. I work with the Regional Arts and Cultural Council as well as Danielle. We both work as part of the public art team. And we're here for the Lincoln High School opportunity that is out right now. And as I had said earlier, for those that may have just come into the space, our Lincoln High School representative, unfortunately, is not able to join us. So I'm going to be doing this by myself. And I think I have everything to answer. And if not, I know who to talk to get answers. But yeah, I hope that this information session is very valuable for folks, especially if you're just curious or trying to learn more about this opportunity. So to get us started here, I am going to share my screen and I will be bringing up this presentation. Okay. This is just an agenda of how I foresee our time together during this hour. As Danielle said, if you have questions, feel free to plug them into the Q&A chat, and Danielle will be monitoring that and probably answering either in real time or at the very end. And that's another thing. We're hoping to have some Q&A time towards the end of our time. So maybe the last 15 minutes of this hour. But yeah, we're going to get into this. So I'll start with accessibility and assistance. As you can see, we have our ASL interpreters here, Dana and Rachel. Thank you both for being here. We're here to support everyone in our community. This is still an area that we are building and learning and growing into, but we also offer technical assistance, navigating the application portal, preparing attachments. If you need translation of materials or applications, feel free to reach out to us about that as well. Or if you need enlarged print materials or in materials that are in alternative formats, if you need interpretation services, process accommodations for people with disabilities, and also captioning. Danielle, I think that's possible for us to do on Zoom.
Yeah, the captions should be on.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks. So yeah. We are the Regional Arts and Cultural Council. For those that are not familiar with the organization, also known as RAC, we are a nonprofit that actually used to be part of the city and the county as an arts bureau. And then about 27 years ago, we became a nonprofit. We contracted right back with the city of Portland and Multnomah County to handle the arts investment. So we're stewards of those art monies. And how we help steward that is through these variety of programs that you see here. We do advocacy. That is something that we've actually started to grow more into over the last few years. So meeting regularly with the commissioners, we have a commissioner liaison in Commissioner Rubio's office. Presenting to the city council, also presenting to the county council, as well as various, as both Washington County and also Clackamas County, because we do serve the overall region, which is the Portland metro area, primarily Washington, Clackamas, and Multnomah. We offer grants in those areas as well that support both individual artists and arts organizations. Public art, which is what we're here for today. We do arts education. We helped facilitate the arts tax, which has brought an art teacher to grade schools, basically elementary classes in Portland Public Schools, and I believe even further with some of the other school districts. And then also offering a variety of web resources like our website for other just local job listings that are around the arts, or art opportunities, commissions, things like that. As well as convening. We do a lot of convening stuff too, and professional development trainings. That's another part of what we've offered over the years. So I basically this is everything. And I just said that. I forgot I have this slide here, which talks about all those things. But yeah, a big part of what we do is advocating for equity, inclusion, and access, DEIA. And part of our mission statement is like really supporting the idea of like, how can we make sure everyone can participate in culture, creativity, and the arts? Here's our website, and there's our Instagram account, in case folks want to know more. So like I said, we're in public art, Danielle and I. And so basically we do a lot of things in our program, including this opportunity that we're going to talk about. But most public art programs are funded through an ordinance that's either happening at a city, county, state, or level. And for our region, we have a percent for our ordinance in both the city of Portland and Multnomah County, which basically stipulates that 2% of capital construction projects for public buildings, 2% of that funding goes towards art. And so with that funding, it's allowed us to do a variety of things that you see here. So we're able to do a lot of temporary programming, temporary public art programming. We curate and do direct purchases for the Visual Chronicle, which is a collection that's based of artworks that are reflective of the Portland landscape or Portland themes. And we do those periodically. The portable works, which are 2D works that move between public buildings, both for the city and the county. We've done initiatives like Support Beam, which offered artists funding just to do their art making practice, especially when we were at the height of the pandemic. We've been partnering with Portland Bureau of Transportation on an initiative called Black Portland Matters Art and Placemaking Initiative, which supports Black-led organizations to create artworks in meaningful communities throughout Portland, particularly for Black communities. And we also just do a number of other things around projects with community organizations throughout the Portland metro area. And then the the Murals program, which is what I oversee. We are one of the two entities that permits murals in the city of Portland. So yeah, we do a lot of things. So the thing that we're talking about today is the Lincoln High School rebuild, and that's what this call is for. This is a partnership with Portland Public Schools. So Lincoln High School is located in the Goose Hollow neighborhood. It is Oregon's first and it's its oldest high school. I want to say in the mid 1800s, like that's how long ago we're talking about. The campus is on an 11-acre superblock, which is bound by Southwest 18th Avenue, Southwest Salmon, Southwest 14th, and also properties that are adjoining on Southwest Jefferson and Madison. The new school is constructed at the western portion of the site, which is fronting or facing Southwest 18th Avenue and also Main. So this, if you see right here in the picture, this is Main Street, which is going to look directly into the mural site, which is here. And this right here is Southwest 18th. And that's also a very that's a max line that goes into Washington County. And so I believe it's the blue and the red, and it will pass by this site frequently. So this artwork will be visible not only on the campus and in the neighborhood, but for folks that are taking public transport. Right now, they're in the midst of the rebuild and construction, and they've gotten so far as the classes are scheduled to open at the new school this fall, but the completion of the entire construction rebuild will be completed by summer of 2023. So I wanted to bring in some slides. You know, we did an Instagram live session where we talked a lot about things, but I wanted to, and we have our call, but I wanted to bring in just more architectural drawings of what this looks like, especially in relation to where the site is going to be in relation to the overall campus. So this is west facing. Here's the mural site. Again, this is Southwest 18th Avenue. Here is Main Street. This is the entire campus itself. So right now they're in the midst of also constructing the track and field. As you can see, it's pretty large. And then here is the actual main buildings themselves. It's going to feature a six-story tall building, which is at the northern western edge. And then where the mural's at, it's going to be a two-level building. I think one of the things that's also really important to talk about is that there is some artwork and also design elements that the construction team has already been putting into place at the site. And so thinking a lot about how this artwork will relate to the overall site and campus. So for example, there's going to be a Bart Simpson etching that's at the top here, or the northern edge of the school. Let me make sure I'm just getting all this right. Moving my buttons around here. There is the Rose Garden that's going to be happening around the southeast portion of the school campus, as well as the Queen of Rosaria plaques. They've got some ornamental trees that are going to be moving in between basically this like walkway, which is the field, and then the actual school buildings. They've got some donor bricks that are also part of that, which is in sort of similar area. They've got a Huron sculpture that is going to be placed here. So they've got some elements going on. And then in fact, this portion here, this walkway that actually separates the school buildings and also the track and campus field and some of the outdoor activities. This is the pattern that you see here is actually in response to Tanner Creek, which historically ran through or underneath the building site. So there are definitely some elements that are already at play, acknowledging the history of the site. And there are some other artworks that are also part of this that will be at the campus that are not just that are beyond just the mural project itself. So this is what the two-level story building will look like. This is the ground floor plan, level 1. And this is actually where our mural will be on the exterior. And then here is what the second floor looks like. So the mural is going to be sort of going across both the first floor and the second floor. And one of the things I think is really interesting is that the majority of the arts programming that's happening in the school, which includes band, choir, visual art studios, those are actually right along the mural site in the interior. So just understanding that area is not only going to be an art area because of the exterior, but what's happening interior is actually where a lot of the art activities are already taking place for the students. So here it is, that 6-story building, as well as the 2-story building. And there's our site right there. And again, this is the west-facing portion of the school campus. And this is just another uh, image of what, again, it's going to look like inside. So here's the band room, here's the choir room, here are some practicing rooms. Again, those are all right against the wall of where the mural will be in the interior. And of course, we're talking about the exterior wall here. So this is the art opportunity itself. It's about little over 15 feet high and almost 32 feet wide. It is, again, on that west-facing exterior site with Southwest 18th and Main Street. It is roughly 478 square feet. The wall will have a total of 2 joints, which you can see right here. So a drift joint that's running horizontally, and then another joint running vertically at the center of the wall. I think it's important to understand that because actually those are going to be very prominent in the wall. So although we see this like clear surface, it is going to be clear. The wall surface is cement stucco with like this sandy smooth texture, but the drift joints will be also apparent at the wall, almost creating these like panel-like areas of the wall. Interesting to know. And again, this art opportunity is the creation of the mural design only. I think that's really important because right now, the 25,000 that's been allotted is not for the entire budget of making this artwork come to life. It's just for the mural design process. And I'll talk about that here in a minute. So our mural goals that we have here, excuse me, as part of the City of Portland's land use approval process that the school and the construction had to go through, they required, the city's basically design commission required that the mural goals have to acknowledge a couple of things, which includes the historic course of the Tanner Creek, pay homage to historic themes of the Goose Hollow neighborhood, including some of the history, which indigenous history, as well as the Chinese gardens of the 1800s. And there are some images of just what that particular area of Portland looked like hundreds of years ago, right? And we're talking about 1800s. Again, it was a very different part. The city was a very different thing then. And just so there's been a lot of research that the project team has undertaken as they were getting to the point of design, and then ultimately, right, here we are at the construction stage. And those materials, those resources is something that we actually can give the artists who was selected as a way to just understand more about this history, and the research has already been taken. So that, yeah, those are things that will be available to the selected artist or artist team. I think another thing that's really important in this part of this project is going to be, it's going to have a very robust community engagement component to it. And so basically that means that the selected artist or artist team is going to be meeting with faculty, meeting with students, ideally meeting with also the neighbors around the school to gather information and insights into both the school desires for the content of the mural, what do they hope the mural will achieve. And we are also going to be pairing a community engagement liaison, Mario Mesquita, who's actually part of RAC staff, to be working closely with the selected artists and artist team to create a plan of community engagement, a community engagement plan that will track how we go about getting that information. And as also, because this will be having intentional engagement with the youth and the campus, it is required by PPS at this point that any selected artist or artist team that gets chosen for this will complete a criminal background check, because we're working with students, as well as being fully vaccinated against COVID. So just know that those are part of also the requirements for any selected artist or artist team. So in terms of eligibility, what we're looking at is obviously we're always interested in engaging new communities of artists and expanding the range of artistic and cultural expression represented in the city's art collection. Um, Being very aware of also historically that um, uh, underrepresented artists are not part of the collection. And so making sure that we are looking at what that representation looks like when we're making our choices. I should say the panel is making their choices. So just knowing that artists or artist teams that are either from uh, based in Washington or Southwest Washington or Oregon, or artists who don't live actually in the region, but who have attended Lincoln High School. So former alum artists. Um, Again, it's 25,000 is the project budget, which is just to create the mural design. And what that exactly means is that it's inclusive of design phase expenses, like your artist fee for creating the mural design, design development for the proposal, any materials that need to go into that, as well as community engagement, completing the community engagement scope of work. And that might include possible travel and lodging costs because some of the stuff will be done in person. So that's what the full 25,000 will cover. Now, the funds for the actual painting of the artwork is going to come from a separate budget. And that's going to be provided not by us, but rather from Portland Public Schools. And they are going to be making that decision of who ultimately is painting the mural. It could very well be the selected artist and artist team, especially if they have that experience, but it doesn't have to be. And I think there's an intention behind that too. I think because we're looking for just that new community of artists, folks that maybe have never done actual mural making, but know how to do design work or are creating artwork, and have like community engagement as their part of maybe their robust practice. They can apply to this. So this is something that we're giving as an opportunity for artists that can do that work. And if they have mural making skills, great. But if they don't, that I think is okay. And we have a separate budget and we can figure out who could paint the mural instead. So just know that that's part of it. But it's something that we'll be keeping in mind. I should say really Portland Public Schools is as the design process will be happening. And so obviously any selected team, artist or artist team will be notified of what that looks like as they move through the design phase. So the application materials that we have, we accept all of them on our RAC opportunity portal, which is sort of our organizational wide application system. And it goes for both any grants opportunities as well as public art opportunities like this one here. The application will consist of about 3 different things, 8 images of past work samples. If you have, and I think for each past work sample, you can do up to, I should say this, you could do up to 2 attachments per work sample. So you have, 8 different work samples and up to 2 images or 2 attachments per work sample. Descriptions are helpful. There's an area for conceptual information. I always feel like it's better to say more than say less, especially if you think it's going to be helpful. This opportunity is going to be, the applications I'll say too are going to be reviewed by a panel, which is comprised of Lincoln High School youth, faculty, alum, and then neighbors, artists that live in the area. And so the application is really that first introduction to this group of people. And so I always say, like, think about that in that way. If you're trying to leave a first impression, what would that look like? Utilizing your application as that. This is your first impression to the panel. What kind of mark do you want to leave? What would you like to say in that? Resume or bio, again, just how do you outline your artistic accomplishments? If you are applying as an artist team, just submitting 1 PDF that includes a resume and bio for each member. I would say a resume and bio should be no more than 2 pages per person. And then a statement of interest. We have a number of questions, I think about 4 max, that are listed in the call for artists. And so just responding to those questions in the statement of interest. And then, if you don't have a professional artist website, that's okay. We do have a spot to link your website. Give us your social media. I know so many artists use Instagram. That's totally fine. We're just trying to find a space where we can see your online presence or portfolio. Yeah. In addition to obviously the images that you submit. This is what our portal homepage looks like. If you've never used it before, you would have to register and create an applicant profile. And then from there, you would be able to find the opportunity itself. If you have already registered, then you're fine. You can log in and then you can go straight to finding the opportunity. And if you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out. We can always help you navigate that. So our deadline to apply is in actually 2 weeks here, Wednesday the 25th at 5 o'clock, obviously Pacific Coast time. Here is the link to the portal, rac.org/apply. Just, if you have any questions, let us know. Don't wait to apply last minute. And yeah, if you find that the portal is providing any barriers, just again, reach out to us and we'll figure out how to navigate that. As I said, the process is going to be comprised of a panel, and those are the folks that will be looking at the applications. Yeah, so just, here we have saying artists will be selected based on their ability to demonstrate originality of vision, relation to the key concepts, their work's overall suitability for public display. I would definitely say really respond to the questions that are listed. It's important just to, they're asked for a reason, and so we're really curious to know what is the artist or artist team's responses to those, and then of course, right, being as clear and authentic as you can in it. So our timeline is as follows. After the application closes on the 25th, the panel will be in reviewing mode, and they will be going through a couple rounds that will be going through June through July. We more than likely will do some artist interviews. So those semifinalists that we get to, about 3 to 4, will be brought in before the panel to interview, with our hope of selecting an artist or an artist team by end of July, early August. And then after that, really bringing in the team or that artist to begin work with Mario, our community engagement liaison, and meeting also the project team from Portland Public Schools, and beginning the community engagement plan and work that can really take place over the fall. And again, students will be back into the campus, will be back into classes, and then also giving the artists in that period from August to November some time to work on their design after the community engagement work is finished. And hopefully that community engagement work will inform the design that any selected team or artist will create. We are hoping that the artist or artist team will present that design to the panel for review in December, and then starting in 2023, working with Portland Public Schools to bring that work to life at the site. Again, it may be the selected artist or artist team. It may be some other contractor. That is all to be discussed. But that be happening in obviously the warmer months of 2023, with the hopes of it being finished by July. And yeah, if you have any questions, this is my email address, smural@rac.org. I know we just went through a lot. I feel like I talked a lot, and I'm looking at my clock here and I'm like, oh, it's already 6:33. So that was quicker than I thought, but also a lot. And yeah, let's open it up for questions. So I'm going to stop sharing right now. And Danielle, what do we got?
We have had a few go through that I'm just gonna send on to you because I didn't have a great answer.
Okay.
So I appreciate this one because I'm a collections person. It's on a west-facing wall, so it's going to get a lot of sunlight. What are the expectations for longevity, even if it's properly sealed and protected? Are there expectations?
That's a great question. Well, I should say there is, and we obviously want this mural to be long-standing. So we're having conversations right now with the project team of materials that can do that. There are some really great paint products out there. Kine from Europe, Nova Color from the West Coast. There's just like different materials that we are suggesting to the project team to make sure that they're using. And of course, if the selected artist is doing it, make sure that they're using as well, to ensure the longevity of the site. But yeah, that is something that is actively being discussed.
Right. You had mentioned that there were the seams, the joints in the wall. Do we know if any of those stick out at all, or is it flush with each other?
I want to say that's a great question. And to be honest with you, that's something that there's still the architect team or the project management team is still trying to get me more clarity. I want to say that I don't know, I think it's more indented than it is something that's like sticking out, but I'm not completely sure. Obviously, any selected artist or artist team, before they do any work, will know that answer. Yeah.
And so on the heels of that, can the mural have 3D components? And if yes, what depth could be possible?
That's a great question. And there has been some discussion around like, does this mural potentially have like maybe some relief elements? That is also something that's being discussed. I don't know what the criteria looks like because the wall is also high. One of the conversations we've had is like, are there maybe more relief elements that are at a higher elevation where folks are not, going to be passing by versus something closer to the ground plane? Again, I think that's a conversation to be had, and that's something that, yeah, we could talk about with the project team. Yeah.
Okay. About eligibility, if there is a collaborators, an artist team, do they all have to be Oregon, Southwest Washington, and or alums of Lincoln High School?
That's actually a great question. I would say no, as long as someone or someone's are, but no, then I don't think the whole team needs to be no.
Okay. How many hours roughly would we expect for the community engagement piece?
That is all part of big TBD. I think that's going to be part of the conversations that happen in working with Mario and that community engagement plan. I will say this, there has been conversation about, does some of this community engagement work happen as part of a curriculum for some of the art classes? So there has been discussion about maybe embedding the community engagement work in that kind of way. There have been no decisions made yet, but those conversations are happening, and I think ultimately too, they will be definitely coming to more clarity once the selected artists and artist team are on board.
Great. Can students participate in the making of the mural?
Yeah, that's part of, I think, also the conversation is like, what's the level of engagement for those youth? There's definitely going to be engagement. I think we're talking about it particularly for this portion in the design phase, but I think there is the conversation has happened is like, does it extend beyond that? I don't have answers. Again, I think that's part of what the selected artists and artist team will talk about with Mario and some of the PPS project team. But there is a desire, and I think that's a conversation.
Let's see. Okay, I'm just I'm just gonna read this. If selected for the design, but also being able to paint the mural. So if you could design it and paint it, would we also be doing a bid, or is the installation cost going to be assessed by RAC?
That's a great question. That in terms of what that process looks like, that is not actually something RAC will be handling. We are partnering them on handling the design phase, and so getting to the design. But at this point, the actual installation is something Portland Public Schools will be handling. So I couldn't answer what that process looks like yet. They don't, I think that's something we can I think it will definitely be part of the conversation once we're in design phase, but what that actually looks like yet, I can't speak to because it won't be RAC running that. It will be PPS.
And one was just about the project. Has this happened before, designed for Portland schools, and will it happen again? And if so, I think this person is interested in if it would be if Black people in particular or BIPOC people in particular would be chosen for those types of opportunities.
That's a great question. You know, I don't know the history of Portland Public Schools commissioning around these kinds of projects and opportunities because I'm not part of Portland Public Schools. The reason, I would say one of the big reasons why RAC is involved with this one is because of its a very exterior, like I should say this, highly visible public right-of-way space. That's one. And because also Lincoln High School is under design review guidelines in the city. So there's certain areas of the city that are called under design review. Lincoln High School is one of that because of its proximity to downtown. The commission, the design commission, which is a body of folks who sort of look at all of these like design elements in these review areas, stipulated that there needs to be artwork at this particular site. And that is usually whenever that stipulation happens, regardless if it's at a school, always comes through our organization and the public art team in particular. So that's one of the reasons why we're involved with this particular site, is because we have that relationship with the city. So that's the first question. What was the second part of it? I know there was a second part.
Oh, yeah, no, just the prioritization of BIPOC folks.
Yeah, and I think that would be for, I would say like with other projects, at least I've heard that's, I think school by school decision, but I will say for this particular project, yes, that is a huge consideration and it is a prioritization of who we're looking at and who will ultimately be selected.
That is all the questions I have in my feed.
Awesome. And then I see one here in the chat.
Oh, right. Oops. Sorry, I'm green. All right, I'll just read it for you. Can the experienced mural painting and design team be paired with underrepresented aspiring artists to help facilitate the production of the mural while engaging and training those members of the community?
Yes. Yeah. I would say, think about how you're, like, I feel like this is part of the value of having an artist team, is if that intentionality is being embedded in who the group is, then that's wonderful. And I think that, and then explain that in the statement of interest. Again, I can only speak to the design phase. The actual painting, again, is not being handled by us. It's being handled by Portland Public Schools. But having said that, that is something that I think would make for a very compelling application. And yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. I hope that's helpful. I don't know. There's a lot. And again, I was really hoping, I'm so sorry, folks. I was hoping that there would be a PPS, Portland Public Schools representative, joining us tonight to maybe answer a little more. But I hope that, yeah. And if there are more questions from folks, feel free to reach out to my email. Actually, let me post that in here, and I can, if I don't have the answers itself, I can always find them out. Yeah, but I thank you all. I mean, how many folks came to see us today or came to see us today? How many folks came to learn about the opportunity tonight?
We've got 18 people here.
Thank you all for spending your Wednesday evening with us. We appreciate that. And I hope this was helpful.
Thank you, Salvador.
Thanks, Danielle. Thank you all. Take care of yourselves. Thanks again for being here.